My best friend is called Maya. We have been friends for ages, since we were tiny tots in nursery school, really. We do everything together. We walk to school together, we sit next to each other in class, and we share our lunch every single day. Everyone knows that where you find me, you will find Maya right there beside me. She has bright red hair that she ties up in two messy bunches on top of her head, and she has more freckles than anyone I have ever met. She says they are like little stars sprinkled all over her face, and I suppose they are. Maya is my best friend, and I am her best friend. That is just the way it is, and the way it has always been. The thing about Maya, though, is that she can be a bit much. That's what my mom says anyway. She says Maya has a lot of energy. And she does. She is always shouting or singing or complaining about something. If her shoelace comes untied, it is a huge drama. If she gets a question wrong in maths, she will moan about it for the rest of the day. Sometimes being her friend feels like being in a play where she is the star and I am just holding her handbag. It can be very, very tiring. I love her, of course I do, but sometimes I just wish she would be a little bit quieter, just for a little while. We have our routines, Maya and I. Every morning she rings my doorbell at exactly 8 o'clock, but she doesn't just ring it once. Oh no. She presses it over and over again, like a woodpecker tapping on a tree, until I open the door. Then she bursts in, usually complaining about something her brother did, or how her toast was too burnt. She talks all the way to school, her voice loud and bouncy, telling me stories that go on and on and on. I mostly just nod and say, because it is hard to get a word in. It is our normal, but sometimes normal can feel like a bit of a headache. But even with all the noise and all the drama, my life would be very strange. I can't really imagine walking to school like her, eating my sandwiches without her trying to steal my classes. She is like a permanent part of my life, a loud, brightly colored, slightly annoying part. She can make me laugh harder than anyone, usually by pulling a silly face when the teacher isn't looking. She is complicated, my best friend Maya, and I thought I knew everything about her. I really did. I thought nothing would ever change between us, but I was wrong about that. Let me give you an example of a normal day with the old Maya. Last Tuesday, for instance. She came to my house in the morning, ringing the doorbell like it was a fire alarm. When I opened the door, she was already crying. Proper, big, gulping sobs. Her face was all red and blotchy. I asked her what was wrong, and she wailed that her favorite sparkly pen had run out of ink. Just a pen. But to Maya, it was the end of the world. She cried all the way to the school gates, and I had to pat her on the back and tell her it would be okay, even though I just wanted to tell her to stop being so silly. Then, at lunchtime, things got even more dramatic. Maya decided she didn't like her sandwich. Her mom had made her a cheese sandwich, which she has almost every day. But on this particular day, Maya declared that she hated cheese. She said it was slimy and disgusting, and she pushed her lunchbox away with a great big sigh. She then stared at my lunch with big, sad eyes. I had a sausage roll, my favorite. I knew what she wanted, so I sighed and broke my sausage roll in half and gave her the bigger piece. She gobbled it up without even saying thank you, and then spent the rest of lunch complaining about how hungry she still was. After school, we went to the park. I wanted to go on the swings, just to sit and chat quietly. But Maya wanted to play a game she had just made up. It was called Escape from the Lava Monster. She was the lava monster, of course. This meant she spent half an hour chasing me around the park, roaring at the top of her lungs. A few of the little kids started crying because she was so loud. I felt my cheeks go bright red with embarrassment. I kept asking if we could stop, but she just roared louder and shouted that the lava was getting closer. I was so tired by the time I got home. That night, she called me on the phone. I thought maybe she would apologize for being so loud in the park, but she didn't. Instead, she talked for 45 minutes straight about a television show she had watched. She described every single scene in great detail, even the boring bits. I tried to tell her about my day, about the book I was reading, but she just talked over me. And then, guess what happened? she'd say, not even waiting for me to guess. I ended the call feeling completely drained, like all my energy had been sucked out through the phone. That was Maya. That was my best friend. The next day was Wednesday. It started just like any other day. The sky was gray and a bit grumpy, and I was getting my school bag ready. I was waiting for the doorbell, bracing myself for the usual frantic ringing. 8 o'clock came. No bell. I waited. 8:01. Still nothing. This was strange. Maya was never, ever late. I started to worry a little bit. Maybe she was sick? Maybe her mom was cross with her? I walked over to the window and peeked through the curtains, expecting to see her stomping up the path. But there was no one there. The street was empty and quiet. Just as I was about to call her house, I saw something odd in the sky. It was a flash of light, but not like lightning. It was a bright, shimmering green color, like a firework, but completely silent. It blinked once, very quickly, right above Maya's house across the street. It was so fast that I wondered if I had imagined it. I blinked, and it was gone. The sky was just gray again. A moment later, I saw Maya's front door open. She stepped out, holding her school bag. She looked just the same. Same red hair in 2 bunches, same freckled nose. She started walking towards my house. I opened my door before she even got to the path. Maya, are you okay? I saw a weird light, I said, my words tumbling out all at once. She looked up at me, and she smiled. It was a small, calm smile, not her usual giant, toothy grin. A light? I didn't see anything, she said. Her voice was different. It was still her voice, but it was softer, gentler. There was no shouting, no drama. She just stood there on my doorstep, waiting patiently. She didn't press the doorbell, not even once. She just waited. It was the strangest thing. Are you ready to go? She asked quietly. I just stared at her for a second. I was so used to her usual whirlwind of adventures that this quiet, calm version of her felt completely alien. I nodded slowly, grabbing my bag. Yes, I'm ready. We started walking towards the school. The silence between us felt huge. Usually she would be chattering away, telling me a million stories about how we could reach the end of the street. But today, she just walked beside me, looking at the trees and the houses. Something was very, very different with Maya. And it all started with that strange green flash in the sky. Our walk to school was completely transformed. Normally, this short journey was a performance piece starring Maya. She would skip, she would jump, she would suddenly stop in the middle of the pavement to act out a story, forcing people to walk around us. But this new Maya walked in a straight line. She didn't shout or sing. Instead, she pointed to a little black cat sitting on a garden wall. "Look," she whispered. "Isn't he sweet?" I looked at the cat, and then back at her. The old Maya would have probably tried to chase the cat, or meowed at it loudly. This Maya just watched it with a gentle smile on her face. When we arrived at the school gates, we saw our friend Tom drop his entire pencil case. Pencils and pens scattered everywhere across the pavement. The old Maya would have laughed. She would have pointed and shouted, "Ha ha, Tom is so clumsy!" And it would have been really embarrassing for him. But this new Maya didn't laugh. She knelt down and started helping him pick everything up. "Don't worry," she said to him in her new, soft voice. "We can get them all." I knelt down to help too, feeling surprised but also nice. It felt nice to be helpful instead of loud. In class, our teacher, Mrs. Davis, asked a really tricky question about fractions. I saw Maya put her hand up. This wasn't unusual. The old Maya put her hand up for everything, even when she didn't know the answer. She just liked the attention. But when Mrs. Davis picked her, Maya gave the correct answer, calmly and clearly. She didn't wave her hand around wildly or shout, I know, I know." She just answered the question and then sat back down. Mrs. Davis looked surprised. "Very good, Maya," she said, and for the first time, it sounded like she really meant it. I glanced over at Maya, but she was just quietly opening her textbook. At break time, it started to rain a little bit. A few drops fell on Maya's arm. I braced myself for the usual reaction. A loud shriek, a dramatic declaration that her life was ruined, and a frantic dash for cover. But nothing happened. She simply looked up at the sky, held out her hand to feel the drops, and said, "Oh, it's raining." That was it. No drama, no panic. She just stated it as a fact. Then she looked at me and asked, "Shall we stand under the shelter?" It was a simple question, a sensible suggestion. It was so unlike her that I just stood there for a moment, completely stunned. The changes kept coming, small things that made a huge difference. At lunchtime, I unpacked my sausage roll, my heart sinking a little as I prepared for the inevitable begging. I automatically started to break it in half, but Maya just opened her own lunchbox. Inside was a cheese sandwich. She looked at it, then looked at me. "My mom made me a cheese sandwich," she said. Her voice was neutral, not whiny. "I'm not a huge fan of cheese, but it's okay. I don't want to waste it." And then she started eating it. She ate the whole thing without a single complaint. I ate my entire sausage roll all by myself. It was delicious. Later, in art class, we were supposed to be painting pictures of our families. My paintbrush slipped, and a big blob of black paint landed right in the middle of my dad's face on the paper. I let out a frustrated groan. The old Maya would have found this hilarious. She would have pointed and cackled and told everyone to look at my ruined painting. I felt my face get hot, waiting for the laughter. But it never came. Instead, the new Maya leaned over. "Don't worry," she whispered. "You can turn it into a shadow. Or maybe he's wearing a funny hat." She passed me a tissue. "Here," she added. "We can fix it." After school, I asked her if she wanted to go to the park. I was a bit nervous, remembering the lava monster game from the day before. I didn't think I had the energy for another chase. "Okay," she said with a nod. "Can we go on the swings?" My heart did a little jump. That was exactly what I had wanted to do yesterday. We walked to the park, and we sat on the swings next to each other. We didn't try to go higher than each other or see who could jump off the furthest. We just swung, gently, back and forth, the chains creaking softly. For the first time in a long time, we had a proper conversation. I told her about the book I was reading, and she listened. She really listened. She asked me questions about the characters. Then she told me she had been thinking about learning to play the guitar. She spoke about it quietly, thoughtfully. She wasn't demanding that her parents buy her one immediately, or declaring that she would be a rock star by next week. It was just a calm, interesting thought. We talked for almost an hour, just swinging and chatting. It was the best afternoon I had had with her in years. The next few days were more of the same. It was like having a completely new best friend, but one who already knew all my secrets. On Thursday, we had to do a project together for geography. Usually, working with Maya was a nightmare. She would get bored after 5 minutes, start doodling all over the poster, and insist that all her ideas were the best. We nearly always got a bad mark because we spent more time arguing than working. I was dreading it. But this time, it was different. She listened to my ideas. She even said, "That's a really good point. Let's do that." We sat at my kitchen table with books and colored pens spread all around us. Maya carefully drew a map of Brazil, shading in the rainforest with a green pencil. She didn't rush. She didn't complain that it was boring. She actually seemed interested. "Did you know that some frogs in the Amazon are poisonous just from touching them?" she asked me, her eyes wide with curiosity, not drama. We worked for a whole hour without a single argument. My mom peeked into the room at one point and gave me a shocked look. She couldn't believe how quietly we were working. We finished the poster and it looked amazing. On Friday, it was Maya's turn to choose what we did after school. I held my breath, wondering what she would pick. A loud, messy game? A trip to the sweet shop where she would demand I buy her things? "Do you want to come over to my house and just read?" she asked. I blinked. Read? The old Maya thought reading was the most boring activity in the entire world. "Really?" I asked, unable to hide my surprise. She nodded. "Yeah. We can make some hot chocolate and just sit on the sofa." It'll be cozy. I couldn't agree fast enough. It sounded like the perfect afternoon, and it was. We went to her house. Her room was tidy, which was another shock. We made hot chocolate in the kitchen, and she didn't spill a single drop. Then we took our mugs and our books and curled up on opposite ends of her sofa. A comfortable silence filled the room, broken only by the sound of us turning the pages. It wasn't awkward or boring. It was peaceful. I felt so relaxed. I realized that this was what I had always wanted in a friendship, someone I could just be quiet with. I could have fun with Maya without all the fuss and the noise. My life started to feel easier. Waking up in the morning was no longer stressful. I didn't have to prepare myself for the frantic doorbell and the whirlwind of drama that was Maya's arrival. Instead, I would just hear a gentle single knock on the door at 8 o'clock. I would open it to find her standing there, smiling calmly. "Morning," she'd say. "Ready?" And our walk to school would be a peaceful stroll, not a chaotic race. I found myself noticing things I hadn't before, like the smell of cut grass or the different colors of the front doors on our street. My whole world felt less noisy. My mom noticed the change too. One evening, she said to me, "Maya seems a lot calmer these days." I just nodded, not knowing what to say. "It's nice," Mom continued, smiling. "You two seem to be getting on so well. There's been a lot less shouting." She was right. We hadn't had a single argument since the day of the green light. I didn't have to give up my lunch, or be embarrassed in the park, or listen to her cry over a broken pen. My shoulders felt lighter, like I had been carrying a heavy bag around for years, and had finally been allowed to put it down. I found that I was happier. I looked forward to seeing Maya every day. I was excited to hear her quiet thoughts and share my own. Our friendship felt more balanced. It wasn't just the Maya show anymore. It felt like we were a team. We were partners. When we played games we both liked. When we talked, we both got a chance to speak. It was a simple, easy kind of friendship, and it filled me with a quiet sort of happiness that I hadn't realized I was missing. It was like the sun had come out from behind a very loud, very demanding cloud. But even with all this happiness, a small, strange thought would sometimes pop into my head. I would look at Maya while she was quietly reading or carefully drawing, and I would remember the old Maya. I would remember her loud laugh and her silly faces and her dramatic stories. This new Maya was wonderful. She was kind and calm and thoughtful. She was the best friend I could ever wish for. But she wasn't the same girl. The girl I had grown up with, the annoying, exhausting, but familiar girl, was gone. And I didn't know if she was ever coming back. One afternoon, about 2 weeks after the change, Maya and I were in my bedroom. I was showing her my rock collection. I had a piece of sparkly quartz that was my absolute favorite. The old Maya had seen it a dozen times and always said it was boring. "It's just a rock," she would say with a shrug. But this Maya picked it up gently. She turned it over and over in her hands, watching the way the light caught its surface. "It's beautiful," she said softly. "It looks like it's full of tiny diamonds." I smiled. It was so nice to have someone appreciate the things I loved. Then she noticed a framed photo on my bedside table. It was a picture of me and Maya from last summer. We were at the beach, and the old Maya was in the middle of pulling a ridiculous cross-eyed face at the camera while I was laughing. The new Maya picked up the frame and stared at the picture. Her expression was blank. "We look so loud," she said, her voice barely a whisper. She traced the outline of her own laughing face in the photo with her finger. I don't remember being like that. A little shiver went down my spine. She didn't remember. That was the moment it really hit me. This wasn't just Maya going through a calm phase. Something fundamental had changed inside her on the day of the green flash. The girl in that photograph, the loud, dramatic, annoying girl who was my best friend, was a different person from the quiet, gentle girl standing in my room. It was as if someone had taken my old friend and swapped her for a new, improved model. An upgrade. And as strange as that thought was, another, even stranger thought followed right behind it. I didn't want the old one back. one who liked my rock collection and who spoke in a soft voice. I thought about our peaceful walks and our proper conversations and our shared quiet moments. I like this so much better now. It was calmer, happier, and less stressful. I like this version of my best friend more. I enjoyed being with her more. A wave of guilt washed over me. Was I a bad friend for feeling this way, or preferring the replacement to the original? I was supposed to miss the old Maya, wasn't I? But I didn't, not really. I still don't know what happened that Wednesday morning. Maybe the green flash was a spaceship. Maybe it was a magical spell. Maybe Maya just hit her head and her personality changed. I don't think I will ever know for sure, and maybe I don't want to. Thinking about it too much makes my head feel fuzzy. It's a mystery that I have decided to just accept. What I do know is that my best friend now is not the same best friend I had 3 weeks ago. She looks the same, she sounds mostly the same, but she is different on the inside, in all the important ways. Sometimes I feel a little bit sad, like I'm grieving for someone who hasn't gone away. I miss the old Maya's crazy energy sometimes, in a strange way. I miss the way she could make me laugh until my stomach hurt just by wiggling her ears. This new Maya is lovely, but she doesn't wiggle her ears. She is calm and sensible. She is the friend I always wished I had, the one who doesn't make every small thing into a big drama. She is easy to be around. She makes my life better. And I know, deep down, that I wouldn't trade her for the world. So this is my life now, with my new and improved best friend. We still walk to school together, but now we talk instead of shout. We still share our lunch, but there is no more begging or complaining. We still play after school, but now we do things that we both enjoy. It's a friendship that feels warm and comfortable, like a favorite old jumper. It's not as exciting, perhaps. There are fewer dramatic stories and far less shouting, but it is so much nicer. It is a quiet, happy friendship, and it is mine. I look over at Maya, the girl who was less annoying. She smiles her new, gentle smile at me, and I smile back. I don't know where my old friend went, or why this new one appeared, but I'm glad she's here. I have a best friend who listens to me, who is kind to me, and who doesn't give me a headache. It feels a bit strange and a bit wrong, but mostly it just feels good. I decided not to question it anymore. After all, you shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth, especially when that gift is a peaceful afternoon and your very own sausage roll.